Who are you? What was it? Oh,
What do you say at the Nerd Archive, though?
I don't say it.
What did they say, though?
Because they don't say Zabadoo.
Welcome
Zabadoo. Zabadoo. Zabadoo.
We're just gonna get him a
To say
T-shirt that
this.
says that.
Let's see if I could actually say it. It's just my voice is not. Okay.
What did you see? Welcome to the Rambling Dudes, the dudes that ramble, the ramblers of all rambling dudes.
There you go.
Welcome to episode. We don't know. I think 4 or 5.
Is this no?
Five.
Is this
6?
5 or 6.
6.
We don't
Check
know.
out our Patreon. It hasn't been set up yet, but if you'd like to donate money, please send it to us.
We do accept
directly.
cash.
We accept Cash App. We accept pigeons. We accept whatever you'd like to send our way. We'll take it. This is not a nonprofit. We are for profit.
I feel like this could get us a lot of things we don't want. So
Oh,
you might
never
want to
mind.
clarify.
Check out the Nerd Archives Patreon where they pay the other people that make this podcast. Subscribe
We're here
to
under
them.
protest.
We're here, the Rambling Dudes who need justice.
The rambling poor dudes. The rambling unpaid dudes.
The rambling lack of views dudes. But we're working on it. We're here to talk all things wrestling today. We've got to catch up a little bit. We haven't talked since the Raw after WrestleMania where we awkwardly watched the show. We'll work on that live stream thing.
Yeah,
but,
that was the first try though.
First try.
It wasn't too bad.
We're gonna learn as we go, develop our Patreon following.
FYI, we still don't have a Patreon following. This is the future.
This
is the
podcast
future.
brought to you by Patreon.
No, it's not.
Is this good, Yadi? Is this what you wanted?
Is this what you want?
This is Yadi, a member of the Nerd Archive who will see the profits from the Patreon. Like the rambling dudes.
No, we haven't gotten anything yet, but hey, we'll welcome anything. So do whatever you
give him your pitch. Give him your pitch.
Just watch, like, subscribe. That'd be
Give
fantastic.
us money so we can grow.
Give us money. Give us that money, man.
As he has like a spaceship in there.
Right. Never mind the launch pad. Leave it alone.
All right, let's jump into some wrestling.
All right. So, like you said, we are coming back. We watched the Raw after Mania.
It's been a month almost.
It's been a couple weeks. Admittingly, things have popped up. Been busy, but I mean, it's WrestleMania. It's post WrestleMania season, so a lot of cool stuff's happening. We've seen the introduction of Tama Tonga, Tama Loa.
Yep.
Solo Sikoa's taking over the bloodline for now. Paul Heyman has no direct line to Roman Reigns as he established last Friday.
Yep.
I mean, the draft just happened and everything. I felt like the draft kind of...
Let's talk about the draft first, okay?
All right.
First topic we'll talk about is the draft.
Right on.
We'll jump into the Bloodline 2.0.
Okay.
Then let's jump into AEW Dynasty.
Okay.
Will Ospreay specifically.
For sure.
And then anything else you want to cover after that?
Okay. I think with the drafts, it was one of those things. I always liked the idea behind it. I always thought it was cool, but I struggle with the presentation of the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of boring. And not that the wrestling isn't good or anything like that. WWE's been on fire with its presentation. Of course, they've slimmed down a lot of the stuff. It's just that kind of more low key focus on the wrestlers. You don't have that giant screen behind them as much anymore or anything like that. But I feel like with the draft, it's just like. It just doesn't feel as fun as it used to because I went to the first year they had it.
And how was the first one? It was
you had Bischoff and you had Paul Heyman because
Right.
Paul Heyman was still GM of SmackDown at the time. Eric Bischoff was of Raw, and they did you did the tumbler, you pulled out a ball and you popped it open and you said whoever it was. And I remember it felt like a lot more fun. We got those kind of matches you didn't see, but also the problem with the draft now is the brand split doesn't really mean anything.
right. I think it's mainly meant for the TV contracts.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right?
That's what it feels like, yeah.
Because they were talking about the A-Town Down Under tag team.
Yep.
They wanted Austin Theory and Grayson Waller on Netflix.
Right.
So they were kind of upset they were on SmackDown. But I think SmackDown TV contract's coming up.
I think next year. I think that's when I don't honestly know 100%, but
It'd be interesting to see what they do with that.
I hope it doesn't do another straight streaming thing because it's a cool idea, but you're forcing people to get a streaming
and
a
you
streaming
lose an
service that
audience potentially.
that was the part I didn't understand. It's like you have a built-in audience of people who will find a way to watch it, whether
And they
it's-
will.
Yeah,
They're already paying for Peacock if
yeah.
they're WWE fans.
and now you've got this thing where like, well, you have to get Netflix, and Netflix's prices keep jumping around, and the tiers mean different things. I mean, I'm curious to see what happens, but what worries me is we're going to start seeing more of this, because you kind of saw it with the NFL with certain games only on Amazon.
It is huge with the subscription landscape. Literally, like TV ad space is moving more so to that, just because of viewership in general. And just the amount of money that these streaming services had.
A lot of money, not to mention the money they're throwing around to get content. I mean,
and that's like a big thing is like, we can only have that game on this network. You have to go see it, and that brings them subscribers.
I mean, it
just like we could with our Patreon, right? We bring subscribers this way.
I think
and give us money.
But I mean, like with the first draft, you had that kind of exclusivity vibe to it.
Yeah.
John Cena's out there, and like he's on SmackDown, so he's wearing it, rather than a blue T-shirt, he's wearing a Barry Sanders jersey, because we were in Detroit, and you had like all these like kind of dream matches. You had Eddie Guerrero versus Triple H for the WWE title. You had, you just had these like scenarios, like the fact that Paul Heyman, John Cena came out, cut a promo on Paul Heyman, handed him a ball out of the hopper, and Eric Bischoff was like, "That's your pick. It doesn't matter. That's your pick." And so he opens it, and he looks at Bischoff. He's like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "That's still your pick." And he goes, Triple H. And this was, again, my understanding with the draft is even Triple H, they weren't really sure where they were going.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is that you kind of killed the momentum of the whole line. Like, they could go anywhere, because they traded Triple H back to Raw for Booker T and the Dudley Boys.
Five times.
So, and then they had that whole thing where Booker was mad that he was on SmackDown. He didn't want to be on SmackDown. It was a good feud between him and RVD, stuff like that and whatnot. But I mean, you kind of killed your own, like, oh, it's exclusive, when you did a trade over the weekend that no one knew about.
And I think too, just the kind of way it went, it kind of seemed second fiddle to the show, which is not a bad thing, because they had a good SmackDown.
Right.
But overall, it felt rushed.
Yeah, it felt rushed.
Why wouldn't you do more on Raw? I feel like they had less picks on Raw, more on SmackDown, and the flow of the show was kind of off, because it was like commercial break, coming back. They didn't give people really the time to like say the picks, because it's not pre-recorded.
Right.
So
it kind of doesn't work in the live format, I feel, at least the way they did it this year. Now, granted, this is the first year they're doing it with Triple H, in charge of creative and everything, so we could see something.
You know what
next
I would
year.
do? I just thought of this. If I was in charge of this, I would host this on a social media channel,
right? Yeah,
like X or something.
Yeah, put it on Peacock,
but you can do like live streaming on there. They've been doing that, so
Yeah.
they're trying to build up that fan base. What if they did like draft picks through there?
Do it on there, do it on YouTube, or
and then they can
any
kind
one
of
their
combine
channels.
their social media channels, like a lot of the wrestlers have been doing.
I mean, like
too.
when we were watching, when I was watching Mania, I left the TV on to go do some stuff, and I came back, and the presser was going.
Yeah,
I don't usually watch those. I don't really. They're cool, but they don't really matter to me. But I found myself kind of watching, because I think they had Rhea on the screen at the time.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I want to hear what she has to say. And then they went to, I don't remember who the next couple were, but it was just like, oh, okay, this is cool, whatever. So like, give people the option to watch it kind of separately, because I feel like you could drive interest, even like an hour long segment after the show, or like watch
stick around.
Watch it on Wednesday after NXT, or not Wednesday, they're on Tuesday now, excuse me, but watch it after NXT, stick around and watch the draft or something like that, because it just, I feel like it would make it special, whereas this one just kind of felt like it was part of the show. It reminded me a lot of when McMahon did the multi-million-dollar giveaway, and it really took away from the show. And like you said, it kind of felt second fiddle. Granted, that was like, I remember me and my buddies, we were watching Raw every week, because we were thinking, oh, we can win money. And then you find out later they called everybody before the show, so they made sure they answered the phone.
It's like the McMillions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it was just one of those things, like, they could have made it more special. It was cool. I mean, it was whatever. But I mean, again, we're not talking about how impactful or how crazy it was, because like the first 2 years were so crazy because you had the first year you had Triple H going to SmackDown, who got traded back. You had Rhino go to Raw. You had, all these different things. And then the next year you had Batista and John Cena switch shows, and they were champion at the time because I remember everybody thinking, "Oh, that's not going to be a thing," and then they switched.
Do you think there was any like surprising moves this year? Like,
not that
like any moves are like, oh, that's
not that six.
I hated how they didn't let the champions move.
Yeah, I think, but I mean, at the same time,
it makes sense.
Yeah, because then you don't have that awkward like when you had with Charlotte and Becky where they had to swap,
and they're finally getting the titles right.
Yeah,
it's finally in a good spot.
Yeah,
I think the women's titles are going to change this probably tonight or this week.
Oh, like
Bianca and Jade Cargill.
Oh, I got you. Oh wait.
They won it.
Yeah, they won
it.
Yeah, I think they'll hold on to those for a while.
I think they'll change the layout.
Oh, the look.
Yeah,
okay,
the look.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that'll be cool if they change the look because that's always been the big problem with like the main two titles is they're cool and they're logo-rific or whatever, but like the fact that the men's and women's, while they can be equal, absolutely should look different.
My question is like, why didn't they break up any factions? They didn't do anything like, that I didn't see that come in. They brought up projected kind of people from NXT that you thought would come up. No big surprises there.
I feel like what Triple H is doing is he's kind of invested in the long term, and right now breaking up factions was very much a Vince thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's trying to get away from that because Vince started hating tag teams. He started splitting tag teams. I mean, when they split the Dudley Boys and it was like, I mean, Bubba Ray got a title shot kind of, which, whatever. It was cool. It was different. It was Triple H. I didn't care. But I mean, it was, Devon kind of did the Reverend Devon.
Oh, testify.
Brought in Batista.
Deacon
and everything.
Batista.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, you can do some cool stuff with that, but I feel like his current storylines like he's got going on right now don't really lend itself.
No, I'm just kidding.
Don't really lend it.
And Bubba Ray coming back after the draft.
Gosh. They don't really lend themselves to like separating teams right now. I mean, and you've got the Creed brothers who I feel are going to join up with Chad Gable, and everything like that. And you've got all these like kind of like pieces moving. And I feel like by breaking up teams, you're kind of saying, I feel like
it also takes away from the draft, though.
True.
Because you're like, Alpha Academy. I was like, what a pick. You get 5 people with one pick or whatever.
It does.
The Judgment Day. You get everybody. Like,
everybody moves. And I feel like but the problem with breaking up teams as well is it almost like WWE for so long, it was, this is the Michaels, this is the Jannetty. And like that was the problem.
Legendary
like how many tag teams have broken up in WWE where both have gone on to be successful? Edge and Christian are really the only ones that really come to mind.
Yeah, I'm gonna say maybe the Usos. Jay's getting up there.
They're getting up there.
I don't know if Jimmy's kind of.
I mean, he's floundering a little bit, but I mean, I feel like that was kind of like his role for the Bloodline. He wasn't really the guy.
Because I don't know if he's gonna be in this installment of the Bloodline.
Probably not. I mean, Solo kind of kicked him out. I feel like
Jimmy's kind of lost.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like with Jay kind of hinting that he's not cool with that, we'll see the Bloodline originals versus the Bloodline 2.0. My question,
War Games or Survivor Series.
Probably War Games or War Games at Survivor Series.
That'd be cool.
I feel like with the Bloodline 2, where does The Rock fit in with all this? I know that he's gone. I know that he's not going to be there for a little while and everything like that. I get that. But is he the leader? Of the new Bloodline?
I would like to think Rikishi's still the leader.
I mean, he did. I think I read somewhere that he had like a statement about something. I didn't read it. I was at work, so I couldn't really pay attention. But I'm curious what they're going to do because it was really kind of that moment when Roman had his grandfather kind of christen him, the tribal chief, the elders, the Wild Samoans do it. It's like Rikishi could bring that sort of validity to this new faction.
Well, he has like all of his boys there.
Yeah, it's very much like he's the godfather of the group. Like, like you've got Solo who's
I gotta say too, sorry.
No, you're good.
Like I do like the look. I do like the red and black going back to like the suit of the Bloodline, the OG Bloodline. So I like what Solo and Tama and Tonga are all looking like. So
I was really happy with the choices. I was surprised at Tamaloa just because I did not expect that. I thought it was gonna be Fat. I thought it was gonna be Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, me too. That's what I thought.
Yeah, and then I checked my phone and
that was a shocker to me. Did you watch it?
No, but I seen the Jacob Fatu and Sila Fatu, they're fighting, or they've been having a lot of matches in GCW.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they were in Detroit recently.
Yep.
Not recently. Well, I think it was like the week of WrestleMania.
Right. Yeah.
He was there.
It was Mania weekend.
And they were talking about. He was at a party with Damian Priest when he won.
Nice.
And then he's pretty close with all these people. So maybe when he gets more experience, I know Jacob Fatu is more of a draw because he's more experienced than
Right.
Sila.
He's explosive too. He's,
I mean, yeah,
for his
that guy
size.
can fly.
you
That guy
watch
can
it.
definitely
Yeah.
fly.
Yeah.
Also,
for a
one
big
other
guy.
question
Mhm.
to the audience, to the patron users, whoever. What the hell does MFT stand for?
MFT.
MFT Tonga. Tama Tonga. MFT.
Oh,
My MFT. What does it stand for?
Oh shoot! I actually know this, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Might have to Google that actually.
If anyone answers in the comments, you get
Oh,
a free
I
subscription
know,
to
I know,
Patreon,
I know
courtesy
what
of Yachty.
I know what it is. It is a new currency that WWE is creating. So they're going into the
No.
Bitcoin.
You're
all that
lying.
stuff.
You're
No,
lying.
it is true.
No.
I read it.
he read
It
it.
is a- it
he
is
read
a
it.
No,
thing.
pull
He
it
read
up.
It is
He
a
read
real
it
thing.
on the Onion.
Well, that's a lot different than mine. I thought it was like my fucking thumb
I mean,
or
well, I mean,
my fucking Tonga.
my phone. I gotta look this up now.
And I sorry for cursing.
I wonder.
Are we allowed to curse? I guess we make the rules. Do we lose Patreon
I mean-
subscribers if we curse?
You can lose monetization on YouTube.
Oh, can you really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sorry. Beep those out. We don't want to lose monetization, even though we have 0.
All right,
Yeah, we
let's
haven't
see.
gotten.
We don't want
haven't-
negative
Oh yeah,
monetization.
haven't
it's
gotten there
it's
yet.
Mother effing Tonga is what it is.
Mother
So,
effing Tonga.
Yeah.
Called it.
It makes sense. I mean, this is a
Looks
guy.
like I get the free subscription, baby. Oh, my, she gets the subscription.
But I mean, I feel like with the bloodline stuff, I like that they've kept it going without like kind of bringing it away from the title though. Like
Yeah.
I feel like it's a good blood feud. It feels like kind of like what they wish they had done when NWO split into the
Yeah, the
Wolfpack and the
Wolfpack.
originals because
They're
like
crushing it. I
Yeah.
mean, that storyline, as long as it's ran,
yeah.
it feels fresh still.
Yeah, they've done a good job. This has been really good long term storytelling. You get rewarded for being invested. You get new surprises every once in a while. It wasn't another Jay comes out in a black hoodie and attacks somebody.
Yeah,
Or
I was
you
there
know,
when that happened.
you know,
SummerSlam Detroit.
You know, it's one of those things like you get rewarded for paying attention, and not only that, but I really enjoyed that Triple H has kind of pulled back, letting them reference other companies.
Yeah.
The fact that they
100%.
were able to say that Tama was an original member of the Bullet Club. The fact that he was
Now, that's
It-
interesting, though, because,
Mhm.
like, isn't AEW aligned with New Japan?
AEW has a working relationship with New Japan,
So that
but
could be a potential partnership with WWE and the TKO group, right?
The interesting thing with that is WWE in the past has tried really hard to work
Yeah.
with New Japan. They've tried to get a foothold in Japan with like just having a working relationship, and they haven't been able to make it work. One would argue Vince wants too much, or they want too much. I don't
Yeah.
really know. I would argue that they're over there first. You should kind of
Mhm.
kowtow to what they want.
Mhm.
But I feel like with this kind of working, kind of passing relationship, because the fact is it allows them to acknowledge the past too. AJ Styles, Finn Balor,
The Bullet Club, they did that on Friday.
yeah, they went to do that, and then he attacked him. I mean, it's just if you allow wrestlers and you reward fans for being long-term wrestling fans,
And I wouldn't mind a forbidden door in the WWE.
exactly.
If you will.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like you take what the AEW has done, and you
Yeah.
take a bunch of dream matches, which I'm perfectly fine with because
Yeah.
Forbidden Door is always a great time. But like you take it and then you put it under like the kind of WWE banner of that production, that like specialness that they do really good at
They do so
promoting.
good.
Yeah, as much as I love AEW, and this is not a slam at AEW, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
But it is very much there's something special about what WWE does better than everybody else, even WCW, because like you look at old WWE and WCW tapings, and while WCW is big, it's bright, it's flashy,
Yep.
it's cool, there's just that little bit missing
Yeah.
that WWE brings to the table that they bring you in, and that was what I feel was lost between the 2010s. Like
I also feel like too, it's the nostalgia factor.
oh, absolutely.
So like it connects, like say you have someone in your family who
Yeah.
watched a little bit of wrestling, or whatever.
Absolutely,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, I watched Hulk Hogan or whatever, and they had all the big talent. I think
Yeah.
the roster is just insane. The more I think
Yeah.
about it, it's just crazy. But that promotion element next level.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even when they toned back pyro and everything,
you don't care.
which AEW did a lot better, I thought.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But then they started bringing it back, but they still don't do it as much.
Nope.
But just their element of storytelling through their promos and everything else that they clip together, like even at the end, you're like, how did they put it together so fast?
It's another level. It's a different tier, and that's not to say that AEW is by any way inferior or TNA is somehow inferior. It's just a different scale. That's all it is. I mean, that's all it really is. Because at the end of the day, it's professional wrestling. It's still good. It's still entertaining. It's still just a great thing to watch and be into.
Right? Yeah.
But WWE is that next level.
It is it's the top of the mountain.
Yeah, I mean, and as much as like, and like the thing is like I feel like AEW has to exist because it pushes WWE to be better.
Right.
Because like you look at what they were doing for so long, they fed you whatever they wanted, and you just
I
had
think
to
too
put up
has a
with
big
it.
thing to do with the change of regime.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Because like we saw it in NXT, we saw the bubblings, and then all of a sudden Triple H was in control, but not really in control.
Yeah.
Now he's fully in control, and you can see it night on night. Like I'm more interested in SmackDown, I'm more interested in Raw than I've ever been.
He brought me back.
Like even me recording this right now, I want to know what's happening on Raw, and I haven't felt that way in a long time. Like I was like, I want to watch Raw, especially if that crowd at Backlash.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
they're gonna
French
still be
crowd?
in France.
No, they're out of France.
They're out of France. I think they're in the European tour right now, though. So,
but like just those fans over there. Ooh, every Backlash is just like you start with Puerto Rico, you go to France. These international fans that they're building up is insane.
I mean, and like you look at a lot of like international fans. They're
doing Clash at the Castle.
They're
going to Saudi Arabia.
They're doing the one in
the King of the Ring's gonna be Saudi Arabia.
They're doing the one in Germany too.
Yeah.
I don't remember what that one's called, but because Clash of the Castle is back in Scotland.
Yep,
isn't it?
that's in Scotland.
Because McIntyre's gonna be there.
Yep,
so.
he's gonna be the manor.
But it's like it's just one of those things. Like it's just a different level. It's just a
huge.
different. It's a different.
That partnership is just. I hate to say it, but it monopolizes it.
Oh yeah,
TKO Group. Look at they already bought. They got Netflix. We talked about it. Netflix for $5 billion
over the course of like 10 years.
Still though, they got their money back already. Long-term investment.
I mean,
and then they're going overseas, and the UFC already has established partnerships over there with them as well as WWE. So it's like that next element we talk about with just being able to promote that.
It's just it's one of those things. Like I don't like to agree with the current Chris Jericho as much, but it's like he said, I feel like everybody should work for. Well, he said Vince, and I don't know if I agree with that, but like just because of recent things,
right?
But I feel like he does have a point. Everybody should work for WWE for at least a year, just 1 year, so that you understand what they are looking for, and it opens your eyes to a different style. Because if you're like, it's kind of like what Punk said on the ESPN interview. He's like, if you're trying to only promote yourself to a niche internet audience, you're only going to be a niche internet wrestler.
Zack Ryder, baby.
You have to. But that's the other thing.
Internet champ.
But that's the thing, though. He got a follow. He got a groundswell, and then he used it to turn. And now he's Matt Cardona, and he's doing gangbusters, and he's ridiculous. But I mean, you look at Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes could have stayed in WWE. Granted, he would have been miserable as Stardust, because I mean, come on. But then he bet on himself. Yep. He went around the world. He did the indie circuit. He did the small shows. He did PW. Yep. He did PWG. He did all these things. He went to Ring of Honor, and then he did Japan, and then he comes out and he's a bigger star. But then he bets on himself again, and then they do All In, which
sparked a whole new promotion.
Did a whole that changed the landscape of wrestling. And they can even if tomorrow they were to bury Cody Rhodes, they won't. But even if they were to bury Cody Rhodes tomorrow, they can never take that away from him. He changed the landscape with the Bucks. They made something that no one thought was possible, especially in America. You can go overseas and sell, do pretty good. Not saying that the market isn't as big there, because they love wrestling.
Without a promotion, it's insane.
Right? Yeah.
They did. They sell at the United Center.
Yeah, but then the idea that it was just a bunch of wrestlers from different promotions who are kind of a mass following from different.
Chris Jericho too. You gotta give credit to
Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega.
Yeah,
I mean they built it off Omega Jericho in a lot of ways.
But that's kind of the thing that's killing it now, I think.
Well, I mean, you have the problem of like, I know Chris Jericho's leaning into it. I know he's leaning into the like, oh, I'm the Terry Funk, aka he's sticking around too long. The problem is that it's so boring. It's so, but now granted, I will say him kind of leaning into it and poking at it was a little fun.
Yeah.
But it's like, if fans really want to get rid of Chris Jericho, don't react to it. Just silence.
Any noise is good noise.
Yeah, any wrestler will tell you if you're getting booed, you're doing something right. If you're getting cheered, you're doing something right. If they're not reacting to you, that's when you've messed up. And like, I feel like if they would just let it die, he'd go away for a year. I have no beef with Chris Jericho. I have a problem with the fact that he won't stop interfering and other people. I mean, yeah, he's like, well, he's trying to basically promote it as like he put Hook over.
Yeah.
Oh, I smashed him in the face with a bat and you pinned him for a title. First of all, does not matter. No,
the TNT?
No, the FTW.
Oh, the FTW.
No disrespect to Taz, no disrespect to Sabu, no disrespect to any of those guys who have held it in the past. That does not matter. It was never recognized in the official annals of ECW as a championship other than the FTW championship because Taz was mad because he couldn't win the championship off Sabu because his neck was broken.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm going to make my own title. I'm the FTW
Sabu
champion.
was nuts.
No, yeah. Guy's crazy.
Straight out of Dearborn.
Sabu?
Side note, my father-in-law actually knew his dad.
Oh, wow.
He actually knew him. I don't remember. I'm trying. I wish I had gone over the story with him again, but he actually knew him, and he said, I knew this guy so and so, and like he started telling me all these things, and he goes, yeah, he used to be he was like a Sheik character, and I was like, you're not talking about. And I asked him, and he goes, yeah, that guy. I was like, oh my gosh,
because his dad was the Sheik, right?
Yeah, he was the
original Sheik.
Yeah, he was like the Sheik, and then the Iron Sheik was the Iron Sheik, but. And it was just so cool because he actually knew who he was, and I was like, holy crap, like a guy who doesn't really watch wrestling outside of like when he was younger, when everybody kind of watched it because it was like a Saturday night or whatever. But so that was just kind of a cool little side.
That's awesome though. That's really cool.
Yeah. So, I got to see Sabu wrestle.
I've seen him wrestle too.
He's done.
Rico.
Does he still wrestle?
I think
some local shows.
I think he's doing more kind of local stuff, but I don't really know. I think
your age.
I think he's like kind of too banged up. Really, I mean,
I don't know how that guy's even walking.
Yeah, I like if I'm being honest, the fact that he's still functioning is amazing to me. Like this guy went through everything and just nuts.
But getting back to the grand scale of things in the promotion. Backlash France crowd was incredible.
Insane crowd. A short card, small card. I mean, not short, but small.
It was a very digestible card.
I love it. I honestly, if it's not Mania, if it's not SummerSlam, it should be smaller. Yeah. Like it reminds me of when
you had the big promo, like you used to have the big pay-per-views every year.
Yeah. If you have the big four, make them big. But then again, you got the Rumble, which usually only has 4 matches on 2 Rumbles.
Love the Rumble.
Yeah. The Rumble's the best show every year, in my opinion. Like, no offense to anything else, I just love the Rumble. There's just something special about it every year. But if it's not like a be all end all pay-per-view, you don't need to stuff it with like 15, 20 matches.
I loved how they let the crowd control it too.
Yep.
They left a lot of room. They didn't hurry the wrestlers down.
Yep.
All of them were singing Randy's song.
Yep.
Jay was walking through the crowd.
Yeah.
The whole Cody Rhodes song.
Yep.
Even the continuation after it was over, after they cut him off. I mean, it was incredible. The phenomenal chant.
Yep.
Woo! France.
Yeah, I mean, and like
those are my people. That's my last name. I mean, I won't say it out loud because they're my family.
His last name is France.
It's French.
La France.
La France. But it's just one of those.
I think it's already posted.
But it's one of those things. Like,
I have a job.
You really like if you can keep it small because
I said that word.
Because like with
Patreon monetization, it's going down.
Yeah.
All right.
Very, very special man. Anyway, but it's one of those things like, and I feel like that's where AEW kind of needs to get itself is like they need to have pay-per-views that could be smaller.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I love the dream cards, I do, but it's a lot.
Okay,
it's a lot to take in.
I watched Dynasty.
Okay,
that's the last one I watched. I wouldn't say I watch a ton of AEW.
Right, yeah.
I thought it was a pretty good show.
Yeah.
There were some matches I wasn't really into, but like for the most part, it was a pretty decent card.
Yeah.
I really liked Okada versus Pac.
Oh, I mean,
thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, how could you not?
Will Ospreay.
Best to ever do it.
Versus, who's Will Ospreay? Bryan Danielson.
There you go.
Sorry, I didn't want to mess up his name. I thought it was really good. I thought Tony Storm and who'd she face?
That was Thunder Rosa.
Very good match.
That was really good.
Very good match.
Really good. Underrated.
I texted you about it too.
Underrated, I would argue.
But the thing that killed me was the Osprey Danielson match was so good. I wish they would have just made it the main event because everyone was like exhausted.
I was
that.
really surprised that it felt like what they did when it was Hogan and Rock before Triple H and Jericho, or when it was Shawn and Taker before ironically Triple H and Randy Orton. It's one of those things like you know that this match is going to be the one that people are here to see. Yeah. And I understand like you want to promote your world title as being that important, and that is important. But it's like Vince has said in the past, sometimes certain matches mean more than the belt in that moment. Mm-hmm. It's not to say the title was worthless. It's not to say that it doesn't mean anything. But you have Danielson and Osprey. Nothing is going to follow that.
Nothing. And then they had 2 matches.
Yeah, exactly.
So it kind of took away from Swerve too, because I watched and I was like, I was okay.
I felt like I love Swerve Strickland.
Swerve versus Samoa Joe, I watched. And I was really... I was happy for Swerve Scott, after his journey. Is kind of a cool journey when you think about it, from WWE to there to now being the first black champion at AEW ever. I just thought it was deflating, though, because you got to follow that ladder match, the tag team ladder match, which I thought was good, but it's kind of something we've kind of seen before.
You've seen it before,
So I was like, oh, they took away because they had this awesome match nobody's seen before. Everyone wanted to see, and then they could have easily positioned it where it would work out. Yeah. It didn't have to be for a title. No. It's like people went there to see that, right?
That was the match that I was like, okay, I would watch it for this. Like you could have made the card a bunch of like nothing matches, and I would I watch it. It's like it was like it reminded me of like the old Mike Tyson fights, where you would watch a bunch of boxing that you don't care about because you want to watch Mike Tyson knock some dude out,
right? Like Jake Paul.
Yeah. So, oh gosh,
Jake Paul, July 10th, right?
I hate that. I hate that. I want to watch that.
I don't know,
but I only want to watch it because I want Mike Tyson to kill him.
Okay. Do we think Mike Tyson has a chance?
I think Mike Tyson has a real chance. The problem is how rigged is it? And this is not a knock at boxers in general. This is a knock at the Logan fights
because Jake Paul.
Yeah, the Paul fight, the Paul brother fights.
They did mention that it was going to be like a
sanctioned boxing match. Yeah,
basically.
Mm-hmm. This counts as a record. Yeah,
right. But now they switched to a pro fight.
Yep, sanctioned.
Yeah. So, but my problem,
no headgear, no nothing.
Right. My problem with any of that though is, how do you get a guy who has been boxing for I don't know how long how long Jake's been doing it?
He's been doing it probably it goes quick. I think maybe 5 or 6 years.
Okay. But you take a guy who's been fighting for 5 or 6 years and you put him in against a guy like Tyrone Woodley who has been fighting for over a decade. Now granted, age, wear and tear, everything comes into play. But I find it really hard to believe that a guy who made a living beating people up. Now, granted, it was MMA. It is different. I'm not stupid. I know boxing is a completely different discipline. Yeah. You can't do certain things that you can in an MMA fight. Even the way you throw your punches is different.
Well, technically, too, a lot of MMA fighters have their hands down, not up like this all the time because of kicks.
Right, yeah.
Or takedowns.
Kicks and the gloves are weighted different and everything like that. Mm-hmm. My problem is...
And grappling. Everything plays into
there's a lot of grappling. You're taking dudes down. You're looking for that one moment. Whereas boxing, you have to pick your opponent apart. I feel like if Tyson is even a shred of what he was, there's no way Paul walks out of that.
He's 59 years old.
Yeah. But have you seen those training videos?
I've seen the training videos. I will say this. As a fan of combat sports, Mike Tyson always has a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a rip to the body.
Yeah.
He's got an overhand. He's not as fast as he was.
No.
The thing is with Paul, he is fast. Jake Paul is fast. He's younger. Mm-hmm. He's got endurance on his side. Right. The longer this fight goes, the worse it's going to be for Mike Tyson. He's going to get gassed.
Tyson's got to put it away.
You can run it back to the Roy Jones Jr. fight where he was gassed in that, and he was about 6 years younger. Yeah. Not to say he's not taking it seriously, but it is a different animal. Yeah. I don't know if they're letting him take steroids. If they do that, he's got a real shot.
I feel like with Tyson, like you said, Mike Tyson always has a chance.
He's got to fight. He's got to punch his chance. Yeah. And to talk about Jake Paul as well, I will say he's worked on his craft. Mm-hmm. I will say he's a legitimate boxer in the sense that he's had multiple bouts, not necessarily against good opponents. Right. But I mean, he's versus Tommy Fury, who's technically a professional boxer, and he's versus another guy who's kind of a professional boxer. He's versus a lot of UFC guys
who are very much not.
But I will say this too. one boxing match that people aren't talking about that happened not too long ago is Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury.
That was really good.
He went in there.
Really
He's an example of an MMA fighter going into a boxing world and versus the lineage champion of all those belts and taking it to him. Arguably almost won that fight. Should have won that fight if he didn't. The point system in boxing, Tyson Fury definitely won the later rounds.
Yeah, I mean,
but he knocked him down and everything else. The best champion.
The fact that Ngannou even got in the ring with a guy like Tyson Fury and lasted longer than 15 seconds shows you not only how serious Ngannou took it, but how much of a beast Ngannou is.
And then also though, next fight, he versus Anthony Joshua.
Less than nothing.
Less than nothing. First round knockout. So there is a game with boxing, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There's levels to this. And I'm not saying, like, maybe he caught Tyson, didn't train or whatever.
Right.
But still, even with a puncher's chance, you always have a chance.
Yeah.
You rock somebody, you knock him down. And it's Mike freaking Tyson.
Yeah, I was going to say, Paul would be stupid to even remotely underestimate anything about Mike Tyson, because I'm sorry, Mike Tyson in his heyday, Mike Tyson now, he can still kill you. Like it's going to happen. Right. Like you said, the longer the fight goes, absolutely not going to matter.
Yeah,
because
interest.
He's going to. Yeah, oh yeah.
Like what they're doing is interest.
I mean, I can't fault him. He found a way to make millions of dollars. The only thing who he is.
That's going to suck is if Paul wins, which is likely. We have to hear about it for the next 40 years.
Oh gosh,
I beat Mike Tyson.
Yep.
I beat Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I mean,
you're gonna say I'm not a real boxer. I beat Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
you beat Mike Tyson.
Well, I mean, to me, it's the equivalent of when Mayweather beat Pacquiao. It's like you avoided Pacquiao in his prime,
and that's not even close to what it is because Pacquiao was still
right. But what I mean is, it's that kind of that same vibe of like, oh, Mayweather's like, well, I beat Pacquiao. It's like you danced away from him, not in the fight, but you danced away with him like to not fight him forever. And then once he was finally kind of almost done, you're like, oh, I'll fight him. And it's like, you didn't give us prime Pacquiao versus prime Mayweather, because I'm sorry, that fight would have went way differently.
Awesome. How awesome would it be if Mike Tyson at 59-year-old ends it? He can walk out into the sunset, take his barrel of money, knocks out Jake Paul, hangs up the gloves.
Right.
He's renowned, he's loved, he's rich again. It would be amazing. It'd be a perfect ending to his storied career that should have ended on a higher note. Most boxers go too long, much like we talk about wrestling.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't know when to say enough's enough. He was one of them.
I feel like
except George Foreman. I don't want to get into it. I could get into boxing.
It's funny with like you talk about wrestlers who hang on too long and everything like that. It's really interesting with combat sports in general. How many guys just hang on too long? I mean, look at Kurt Angle, who arguably was doing some of his best work in TNA while still being on a lot of different pills, being on a lot of having a lot of problems.
Perk Angle, they call him.
Yeah, who should like not have been wrestling at that time. But I mean, he was putting on great matches, but he was also ripping his body to shreds. It's like these guys are so convinced that they will just fade away if they aren't doing what they're known for every single day, that they just destroyed themselves. Like, look at Dynamite Kid when he was retired. He was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Look at like any wrestler who's like worth their salt after their end. You look at them as an adult, they're completely destroyed. Now, granted, a lot of like the 80s guys, it was steroids. Jimmy Snuka was completely like, he looked like he imploded on himself. I mean, like, a lot of those, like Mick Foley can barely walk. I mean, it's just Terry Funk could barely walk.
And I think too, it's taking care of yourself, obviously. Too.
Absolutely,
obviously, there's a lot of damage with Mick took a lot of damage, but also
took a lot of unnecessary damage
and a lot of other things too. He went too long. Absolutely right with that.
But it's interesting with like combat sports in general, because it feels like
you want to hold on to it.
Yeah, you do. And like the interesting thing is like when you look at like the other professional leagues around the world, mainly, I look at the NBA, look at the NHL, look at the NFL.
They're retiring early.
Like the average career I think in the NFL is like 3 years. Yeah. But like you look at these guys who they're retiring at 28. Most people's lives are just starting to really get into a groove at 28, and now they have nothing to do.
They got no purpose.
Yeah, they have no job. They have no income. They might get a coaching job or whatever, but it's never the same. So it's really interesting to see people in the combat sport arena who just won't stop. I mean, all respect to what Ric Flair has done in the industry, but this is a guy who literally almost died in the ring.
Yeah,
not even a couple of years ago, who should not have even been allowed near that ring. Like Rick, I want to wrestle. No, like and like the
I
funny,
personally enjoyed it.
well, yeah,
The
I mean,
fake heart attack was incredibly convincing at 73 years old.
yeah,
I will say that.
totally convincing. Not at all a worry that it might have actually happened, but like
I was worried, but I say he wants to. I think a thing too is like, oftentimes when you look at like these combat sports, there's nobody telling them to stop.
Yep.
They're gonna always promoters gonna be out there saying, "Hey, I'll take your money."
Yep.
Any
I mean,
level.
look at Scott Hall.
Yeah.
Look at Scott Hall when he was like in really, really, really bad shape.
Yep.
And he like there's that video where he went to that show. He was pilled out of his mind because he had just had a seizure like the night before, checked himself out against doctor's orders, and went to a show. And the promoter put him out in front of the thing. And he goes, "Well, I don't know Scott. Scott's not a personal friend of mine." It's like, you're a human being, dude.
Right. You can tell.
And you can tell. I mean, yeah, you promoted your show as Scott Hall was coming here. Suck it up, dude. Like it sucks.
Things happen
and I'm
in
not
life, yeah.
I'm not saying that you couldn't be mad at Scott Hall and demand his fee back or whatever, but it's like, come on. Like, you pushed a guy out there who should have, by all intents and purposes, still been in a freaking hospital bed.
People see that too. It's a reputation, right?
Yeah.
You go out there and then you're like, "Oh, what happened to Scott Hall?"
Yeah, I mean, people were shouting at him like, "Oh, did you OD?" He's like, "No, actually, I had a seizure." And it's like, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't be in the ring. Like, what are you doing? But and it just like with combat sports, like, that's why it was so interesting when the guys who actually do retire and stay retired. It's very rare.
It's rare.
But I mean, they do it. I mean, Shawn Michaels, up until the Saudi show, had done it.
Yeah.
Undertaker is gone and has kind of stayed away. Again, I would argue he probably went a little too long too.
Yeah.
The difference was, though, he was only wrestling like once a year versus like guys who still go out there every week or every month, and it's just like it's
everyday schedule.
Yeah. I mean, look at Kevin Sullivan. I mean, a guy.
But then you got like people like R-Truth, man, like these freaking natures.
Yeah, but I mean,
like the Boogeyman.
Yeah,
like,
but
that
I mean,
dude was old.
But R-Truth is still a comedy character. He's not taking the wear and
he's
bear.
not main eventing. He's in like a tag team.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, and it's entertaining. And again, if he's healthy, let him do it. I don't care. It's funny. It's hilarious. He's silly. We get it.
Yeah.
He's whatever. And like, people don't care, but they're not thrusting him in the main event. He's not holding the world title for the WWE. He's tag team champion, with the Miz and whatnot. But I mean, it's one of those things. Like,
I know, I get, I think like it's hard too, because where does your income come from after that, and how have you spent your money?
Are you gonna do the convention circuit? Are you gonna do and not that there's anything wrong with
like,
that?
Oh yeah, I'll go take a match with Impact.
Exactly.
Why not?
Like, oh, you'll pay me $2,000 to go out there for 10 minutes and embarrass myself. Sure, I can do that. It just and that's not.
And then you got the whole crowd yelling, "You still got it!"
Right? Yeah.
You still got it.
But it's like
the fans want to see it, right?
It's like
even in Ric Flair's final match.
Yeah.
They were chanting what?
Yeah, it just
you still got it.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's alcoholism they're chanting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, you still got it, as in you need to. You still, my gosh. But but I mean, it's definitely just definitely one of those things. Like, it's hard. Like, you look at guys who, but I mean, wrestling is also one of the only combat sports where the guys are delusional in their own thinking of what their legacy is. I'm not saying that you don't have a legacy. I'm not saying that you're not important, but guys like Bill Goldberg, guys like Undertaker, freaking Ric Flair, all these guys who we get it, man. You were cool. You need to stop. Like, getting back to Goldberg, because I remember we were going to talk about that, where Goldberg called AEW too cheesy, and that's why. And then Tony Khan counteracted with like,
I'm a fan of Gilbert.
I love Gilbert. I actually feel like they should have brought what AEW should have done is they should have contacted Gilbert and brought him in instead of Goldberg. I thought that would have been really funny. Like, oh, we got the right guy, right? Oh,
Gilbert.
Well, but I mean, with Goldberg calling AEW too cheesy, dude, you weren't concerned about cheesy when you came in and you squashed the Fiend, who was the hottest thing at the time, because the bad guy doesn't beat the superhero. Okay, so you're a G.I. Joe, you're an action figure now. I mean, you look like one, but you also, whatever, man. No, it's too cheesy. Okay, Goldberg, you were ready to rumble, bro. I don't want to hear about too cheesy. So just oh my gosh.
Bill Goldberg is definitely a polarizing figure in all of sports. There's people that absolutely love him. There's people that absolutely despise him. I always think he never helps himself out.
No,
with promos,
he doesn't. Yeah.
Which is why he shouldn't be talking ever.
Well, like, my thing with Goldberg is he's done what Hulk Hogan did. He's flipped a lot of what happened to suit what makes him look better. Back in the day, that there was an interview, they were talking about the rise and fall of WCW when they had Goldberg lose the world title to Kevin Nash via the taser and all that stuff. And Goldberg says, was that the right move? I don't know. I'm just here to do a match, kind of playing it like, I don't care. I did what they told me to do. You kind of get the vibe. And then he's like, no, that was the right call. Absolutely. I was cool with that. You just said you didn't have anything to do with it like 10 years ago. So like what changed? And then you got Hulk Hogan, who's like telling stories about how he wrestled 400 days in a year. Like how many?
That was incredible.
How many?
I remember that run.
How many headshots have you taken today, Hulk? Just like calm down. And it's just, I understand you want to feel important and you want to feel like you did something, especially in a business that is notorious. And
you've already done it. Like you don't need to lie about it.
You've done it. We documented it. There's a whole thing about it. Goldberg, you were the hottest thing for like 2 years, period. Like it was all Goldberg. It was WCW and Goldberg. It was Michael Jordan and the Bulls. It was just like you were that guy. So quit trying to pretend that what you did then was even cooler than it was because, we get it. It was cool. That was 1997, bro.
You can't say it's like cheesy when like the pinnacle of wrestling in WCW, Sting, was in AEW for multiple years. Got his final run. They sent him off well. And
way better than WWE did it, and
WWE, I was excited for Sting's run. Then the whole neck thing happened.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
that's one thing I worry about AEW is like the precautions they take with the wrestlers. Like
and the funny thing is like, I feel like AEW does too much letting the wrestlers decide. Yeah. Because when Matt Hardy got thrown off that thing and conked his head on live television and knocked himself loopy and was still allowed to continue, it's like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, no. Like, I understood you couldn't call the match because if Sami Guevara won, you wouldn't have Matt Hardy was done.
Yeah.
Make it stipulation. The match didn't finish. It was a no contest.
Right.
There, nobody wins. Haha, we can run it back in a few weeks.
Or whatever.
But you let a Matt Hardy who is clearly 20 miles away mentally wrestling still. It's like, what are you doing?
Right.
Well, he said he was okay. Oh, good for him.
He has no idea where he's at.
He's concussed. Like
he thinks it's 1995.
Yeah, he thinks
what day is it?
He thinks him and Edge and Christian are gonna go out and do that. Yeah, what day is it? Purple. What? How many fingers am I holding up?
17.
26. It's just like it's just one of those things. And like I feel like Sting wouldn't have done the things that he did without knowing it was okay.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people who wrestled Sting were also very adamant about wanting to be protective of Sting. Like, I don't want to hurt him because I know as much as the Seth Rollins character kind of grates on my nerves regardless, I know Seth probably even like I know Seth even probably to this day probably still feels awful when he did that buckle bomb and Sting just couldn't get up. I mean, you basically feel like you just killed a legend, literally.
Yeah.
Like what are you gonna do? Like I would feel terrible, and I know Seth probably does. I mean, he does.
Yeah.
And everything.
We didn't do the buckle bomb for a long time after that.
Right. Yeah. And like when he does it now, I'm even like, why are we doing this?
Right.
I've always been a person that if a move continues to injure people unintentionally, it should not be in there anymore. It's like the shooting star
pile driver
when Billy Kidman kneed Chavo Guerrero in the face, concussed him, and then he started doing it as like a storyline of always injuring people. It's like, stop. Yep. Especially now knowing what we do with people in concussions and injuries.
Someone tell that to Nia Jax.
Oh gosh.
What happened? Tell me. I don't know.
Nia Jax is notorious for hurting everybody she's in the ring with. Yep, I mean, this is the woman who broke Becky Lynch's face, albeit she turned it into the man.
Yeah.
But still, it should have never happened. And that's the problem I have is like, and then they turned that into a story like, oh, I hurt people. That's not a thing to be proud of.
One of the like real ones that was like her and Charlotte had like real heat. And I was watching the Monday night.
Yeah, they
Raw,
got in a slap fight in the
they
middle
were
of a
really
match.
hitting each other.
Yep, they were mad at each other. And I mean, you've seen that before. You've seen Brock Lesnar punch Braun Strowman in the head.
That was funny.
Tell him to slow down.
Slow down.
Yeah. He conked his melon, man. I just like, and Braun is not used to getting hit by somebody who can hit him like whoa.
Lunchbox.
Yeah, I mean, you got lunchboxes for hands. I mean, when Brock came in the UFC, they had to make special gloves for him because his hands were so big. But it's one of those things like, as far as like these guys who hold on too long, as far as these guys who continue, I really am glad that we seem to be getting away from it on the level that it used to be. Because you're always going to have that guy who's in there too long. Chris Jericho. You're always going to have that guy who's in there for too long who can still go, but should he really? It's like the old Jurassic Park quote. Like you were so worried about knowing if you could, you never stopped to think if you should.
Right.
Flair, your legacy was secured 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We know who Ric Flair is.
Yep.
You don't need to do it anymore, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, he's probably paying 6 alimonies and he's got, 20 divorce lawyers he's still paying for. But I mean, it's like, we get you. We get it, man.
He's a legend, though. I mean, that's a hard thing. It's like, he filmed the arena. Like, what can you say? There's wrestling promotions that can't do that.
True.
He did an independent show, technically.
True.
His last match, he had a good undercard.
Yeah. I mean,
it was a good show.
He did it. He did it right. I mean, you had people who
I watched it with my uncle. I didn't know he was a wrestling fan. He's like, I watched Ric Flair's last match.
I mean, there were wrestlers,
and then he usually looks like Grandpa, and they go into the swimming pool.
Right. I mean, there are definitely wrestlers who should not. Who went out and were like, I want to watch this because everybody.
Yep.
It's a curiosity.
I did watch that Wrestlers on Netflix.
Yes,
and they showed that like Al Snow going.
They showed Al Snow going,
and it's kind of funny because then Al Snow does a match. In his 50s.
But that's the other thing. They had first of all, like you said, Al Snow was in good shape. He had to be talked into it, and he said he would only do it if it made sense, and they made it made sense. To watch him cut promos on that guy on the radio show was one of the funniest things I've ever watched Al Snow do, because Al Snow has a mind for the business. He's really good at what he does. It's just like. And like he said, he went out and he had a good match. They did it in a way that protected him without making it look ridiculous. And plus, like you said, Al Snow was in tremendous shape for his age, especially.
My favorite character in that show was they had a guy who was a radio host who they made commentary / head of marketing.
Yep.
The guy who owns it, the co-owner, is kind of a dick.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, you got to put this many people in these seats.
Yep.
And you could just see the stress of this guy. Like he drove away from his family to this golf promotion.
Yep.
To,
he called beers. Yeah, he called.
So he drove all the
kid.
way from Ohio to Louisville.
Yeah, he called his kid and was like, he called his like I'm sorry I can't make it. And he told his kid like I'm sorry I can't make it. And then he's like breaking down. And finally the guy's like, well, what's like the one co-owner is like, well, what's up with him? And they go, he was supposed to see his kid today, but he was here for this, and he realized how much he was rubbing these people the wrong way, and how much he was woking. And then he goes, "Hey, I just want to say I appreciate you. Thank you very much." And I don't know how much it meant to that guy in the moment, but he had to.
It meant a lot.
It had to mean a lot.
But then you go to the pay-per-view numbers. He's the guy who's like on the radio, has his show, and he's promoting this all the time.
Yep.
He goes to the call with Triller, or is it Thrill? What is the pay-per-view buying? I think it's Triller.
I can't remember. I know
Something. It's like Triller.
Something like
but
that.
But they do like all the fights for like AEW. You can buy them on there.
Yeah.
But they did Ohio Valley.
Yep.
And he goes, how many pay-per-view buys do we have?
And it was like
74.
Yeah, it wasn't even 100. And they had a really good card. Like that was the thing that was crazy. It's like you had matches that people wanted to see. But I think that's kind of where the promotion comes in too, because I got to be honest, once OVW and WWE severed their relationship, I didn't know they still existed. I thought they were gone. I thought it was done. I thought it was over.
And the only way they sold out really was because of Basham and Snow on that last card.
James Storm was on there.
James Storm,
he wrestled their champion and everything like that.
And he got a lot of heat for like how much he made for like appearance. Right, it was like $2,000.
Yeah, it was a good amount of money. And the guy even said, he goes, the owner was like, I don't want to bring him in if he's going to cost me a lot of money. And Alson was like, he's going to bring eyes.
And he did.
They sold out the arena. I mean, it was probably the first show they always do well, but the fact that it was like
they got like a local crowd following. I also loved how it showed behind the scenes of like the wrestler.
Yeah, anytime I can watch that, because you don't get it very often.
Yeah.
As a wrestling fan, I mean, how many years did we go as wrestling fans where you didn't know anything about what was going on behind the scenes? And now we get kind of a peek inside. Like the last time I remember anything behind the scenes that was positive was Wrestling with Shadows, the Bret Hart documentary that they did when he got screwed out of the title at 97's Survivor Series. But it's like
they had Behind the Mask too.
Yeah,
which was kind of
they
rough.
had Beyond the Mat, which was hard to watch. With
that Mick Foley,
Mick Foley, Jake the Snake when he was in a rough way. I mean, all that stuff. But it's interesting to see. Like I remember as a kid, you hate the guy that's hurting the guy you like.
Yeah.
You hate that guy. But then you realize that, no, these people are all friends. They wouldn't do these things. I mean, they don't all get along, but they wouldn't do the things they do if they didn't trust each other.
Yeah.
And it's just like my friend Abby, when she was doing wrestling schools and stuff, she said the one thing that wrestling is that a lot of people don't seem to realize, it's a lot like dance. You have to rely on your partner to be there. And like even doing like a lockup or anything like that, there's a lot of both of you taking the weight on that, and stuff like that. It's really
we had
just
something planned, but our dance didn't work out.
But it's just
no, it is 100%.
But like to see like the wrestlers like kind of peel that back for like a smaller promotion that's still doing good business.
And that's like a big thing too, is like being able to see like, oh, they work at the Holiday Inn to pay their bills. Really.
Yeah, working 2 jobs or whatever, and they have the problems that they do to cope with not only wrestling but life, and then to see like the funny thing for me, well, I shouldn't say funny, but the interesting thing for me is just like the wives of the wrestlers who like support their husbands doing this insane thing.
Are you talking about the cash flow?
Yeah. Who may or may not make money that month. Yeah. It's like, well, he wanted to be a wrestler and I want to support him. It's like, so you gave up your job which you were a nurse to do this. That's commitment to your spouse and living their dream. And it's just one of those things like, some of these guys are like, I really want to pay my wife back for everything she's done for me, but what can you do?
Right.
You have to quit wrestling and you're not going to do that. So,
and even him, he was like, he'd be in his 50s.
Yeah, he was up there too. I mean, he had shown up on AEW. He was part of like a dark taping, I think.
I saw that.
But cool. the one thing I liked about that was they talked about how they go, so what they do, like you have to drive out there, and he goes, no, they flew us out there. Yeah. Tony Khan, for all of his faults, which are numerous, not saying everybody else is just saying or anything like that, does take care of the guys that he needs on his show. Hey, you want to come down and work as a heater on my show? Yeah, sure. All right, we'll fly you out. It's like, hey,
that's good. That's expensive.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly.
Money.
Yeah, and they give you money and everything like that.
And you get some tape.
Yeah, so it's just it's such a cool thing to see the brotherhood of wrestling. Well, like just the familyhood of wrestling. Just they take care of each other. Like, hey man, I know you're kind of down. Do you want to come up to the show? I mean, how many times do you hear about wrestlers or managers or anybody who are like at the end of their rope, and then one of their wrestling buddies calls them like, hey, are you still doing this? Yeah, why? I'll give you a call back. Give me 1 minute. Like Rick Rude did for Paul Bearer.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like, he goes, I sold my car. I had no money for presents for my kid. He goes, I was done. I was out of options. And Rick Rude calls me like, hey, would you be interested in doing some wrestling stuff? Well, yeah. He goes, I'll call you back. And he calls him back. And then Vince calls him back. Vince McMahon called Paul Bearer, and Paul Bearer's like, this is a joke, right? Like there's no way. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna fly you out to Connecticut. And then he finds out he's an actual licensed mortician. He wants him to be the Undertaker's,
and it's a
game changer. And like look at everything that came from that. It's crazy to think that you have a business where the whole point is to promote a fight to where it looks like you've beat the living crap out of the person across from you, to where you pin them to the mat for 3 seconds. But then at the end of the day, most of the time, if you're a decent person in that business, you will take care of the people around you, and they'll take care of you.
All right. Got to talk about the local promotion after that.
Yep.
That I went and saw at
absolutely.
Royal Scott Bowling. If that gives you any hints where we're at, you can follow us on Patreon.
It's called the Google search.
I got to see a wrestling promotion of West Michigan, Independence Pro Wrestling, based on your suggestion. Thank you for that.
No problem.
I've never seen them before. Thought I'd give it a shot. We went out there. And it was the bowling alley show. There's maybe 20 people in the audience, but they're fired up. People in front of us had been drinking a little bit, so they were having a good time.
Drinking at a local wrestling show. This is a new development.
But they have like people that follow them around and like enjoy the show. They put on a pretty good show. It's always different seeing it that close and personal. Like, and you could hear everything.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of fun characters that got the crowd hyped up
for sure.
And they had a good main event. They had a kendo stick match at the end, which was pretty cool. And you look at it, and you looking back at that show, you're like, these are the guys trying to make it. And I don't even necessarily think it's about making it for these guys. It's about going out and putting on a show. It's live theater. That's where I could see it being live theater in the most sense of the word.
Yeah,
Like,
in
you
the
go out
very
there-
basic sense, it is live
You
theater.
go out there and there's 20 people you're gonna put on a show.
Yep.
Right? They film it for the internet mainly
Yep.
to
Yeah,
show it there because it does a better job of showcasing what it was.
Yep.
But they travel here and there, and it was really cool to see some of the characters. And it's like, oh yeah, like
Yep.
they are moving for how big they are,
Oh, yeah.
and like they're all just drinking beer after it.
With any indie show, it's always interesting because for me, it's always been a cool experience to see an indie wrestler who eventually makes it. Like I saw them when they were this guy or this woman.
Right.
Look at them now; they're on TV.
And I think there was a couple that I saw, like the IPW champion Jamal King.
Mhm.
Like I think he has everything to be a guy that makes
Right.
it to some sort of next level.
right, yeah,
Not locally, but maybe
right,
regional
yeah,
promotional, maybe like
stage,
OVW or something like that.
yeah.
But it was cool to see that they're like ripping up kids' signs in front of us and stuff like that.
It's always interesting to me because it reminds me of the old Temptation adage because there was a thing where they only sold like half the show, and the guy is like, we only sold half the house. The other guy goes, half a house still deserves a full house show, right?
Yeah.
And they went out and they do it. That's what wrestlers do. It doesn't matter if you're in front of 10 people or 10,000. You do your absolute best. It will show, and the audience appreciates it. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to have more people there. It'd be nice to feed off a bigger energy for the crowd and everything. But I've never seen when a wrestler phones it in, you can tell. But when I have never seen an indie wrestler phone it in. I've seen indie wrestlers get hurt and have to phone it in because they're not sure where they are. But I mean, I went to a show in Charlotte like years ago, and the main event broke down to like this brawl, and the one dude jumped off the second balcony into the ring. Just out of nowhere and landed on a pile of guys. I mean, they literally will do whatever they can to pop that crowd, even for 5 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, there was a superplex.
Right.
I mean, like, there's some moonsaults. I'm like, in the bowling alley? Everyone's like, the ceiling. You can't jump off of that. We're like, oh, no. And then you hear the smack of the mat right next to it. It's like, oh, there goes a 250-pound, 300-pound guy off the top rope. Because they're all, like, big dudes. Like,
oh, yeah.
And there's some, like, you can see, like, the younger guys trying to make it. That legitimately could have a shot. I mean, I think to just being a part of like something like that would be cool.
Right.
Not at like a major level, but just being like part of like a local show. There was like this one guy, I can't think of his first name, but Goldman, and he was just a heel manager. Like he came out during the women's fight and beat up the women and threw them out of the ring. I was like, what is happening? And then he comes back around and rips up this kid's sign, and they have like an internal promotion within the faction that he runs.
Right.
And he looked kind of like the Tiger King.
Nice.
And it was all very interesting. And he was like comparing shoes with the audience guy. But shout out to him. I mean, he did his job, right?
Yep.
He was supposed to be the guy people booed, got fired up. And
Kept
everyone
you entertained.
kept you entertained. And he was like the commentator or whatever, I think, for most of them. But it was cool. But it was also interesting because like during the intermission, like I saw one of the wrestlers just like they just walk around. And I was actually sitting next to one, and I was like, they were talking about like IPW potentially doing like schools and stuff like that. And then I was like, where are you guys based out of? I just you sitting in our row.
Right.
You'd know better than anybody. Like, where are you guys based off? And he goes, I won't say any names, but he was like, I think Kalamazoo.
I mean, it's one of those things, like, especially with like the indie guys, like, just talking to my friend June and everything, like she talks about like just experiences they've had, and like it's interesting to see how the business has changed from like that kind of like not so much tribalism, but like you got to pay your dues in a way that is almost derogatory.
Yeah.
They just want you to go out and put in the work, respect the person who's above you, break down the ring, set up the ring and everything like that. And like, that's all they really want. At least that's the vibe I always get. And then like, you get these guys who, as long as you're cool with them, they're cool with you. As long as you're not trying to like hot dog the whole thing or whatever. It's interesting because like you hear about, there was a guy who, I'm not going to name names, but
what's the name?
Is
it Yachty?
His whole thing was like he was being very disrespectful not only to the wrestler in the ring, but to like the crowd and everything. And the promoter said, "You're done. I never want to see your face again." And this is a guy who had a pretty big following, but he's just like, "I don't want to deal with you ever again." And it's just cool to see how the business has changed. Where you there's always that talk of like the story that Undertaker told about how guys would have guns and drugs and everything like that.
Yeah,
it's like,
I mean, when you think about Brody. Brody the Bruiser
Brody.
Bruiser Brody
Yeah.
in Puerto Rico getting
Yeah, like he got killed in Puerto Rico, but I
Yeah.
mean, and that was for for all my understanding was it was about money. Like he was
Yeah.
going to start his own promotion. They didn't like that, but like you hear about all these things and like you just. Except for like a couple of like extreme examples, you don't really hear about that much in this day and
right.
age.
Yeah, it's not like that.
Yeah,
I think too. I just like going to the local promotion. I think we could be a part of it, guys.
yeah.
I think we could have some of these guys on the podcast.
I mean, it definitely would
Like-
would be fun to. I just love hearing their stories. Like
Yeah.
that's my
I
favorite
would
part.
want them in their character though. I think it would be cool to promote their character.
Ryan's getting choked out in the background. Well, we'll be back on
I
next
will
time on
do it.
Rambling
I will
Dudes.
do it. I want to be involved in some way
Ryan's
on
getting,
the local scene here in any way because I think it'd be cool. I mean, based on like the one fan that followed him, he was kind of involved, like
right, yeah.
yelling. But I think like in terms of what we're doing, I think it'd be cool content and it'd be fun, and it'd
Yeah.
also give an opportunity like to start getting into like the wrestling scene locally,
Mhm.
and maybe one of these guys does make it, and
Right.
we'd be like, oh, that's those
Like, hey,
guys.
we know that guy. So,
But
Yeah, you were in the Rambling Dudes.
there's the Rambling Dudes. The Rambling Dudes are coming, brother. IP Dub.
What you gonna do?
I do want to see Capital Pro Wrestling. Shout out to them May 19th. They were doing it in the Fledge, which
Right.
is a local place.
Oh,
Come
that's
up
what
with
you
this.
sent that earlier.
yeah.
Come up with the slogan, fill the fledge. Hashtag fill the fledge. That's what I'd be chanting if I was there. Fill the fledge.
I gotta check it out. I don't know.
I don't know. I watched a couple of their stuff. The women's match was pretty good at the IPW one, and I think those were like local Lansing people.
Probably.
Stella is actually she's actually the IPW champion, but hers is like the guardian owl. So they're like hooty hoo, but it's like see the interesting characters, and then she versus a real great heel
yeah.
character, like Thundercat or something was her name, Thunder Kitten.
Nice.
So
Nice.
it was a lot of fun though.
Yeah, it's definitely something I want to get back into. A couple of my
and
friends.
you know some friends,
Yeah, a couple of my friends who wrestle up in like the Houghton Lake area. They want me to come up for a show. I want to go up for a show.
I'll be a plant. I'll do it.
Let's go.
Just we'll have to
I'll
figure
go.
that out. I wouldn't mind going. For
I'll
sure.
drive.
Okay. Hey, all right. I'm in now. I don't have to drive. I hate
It's not
driving.
that far.
No,
I
it's
like driving
about 2
stuff.
hours. Give or
Yeah,
take.
I'd love to be a part of it. And then like if we could have something come up, you got all these cameras.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll bring everything.
I don't know if they'd
but-
allow us to, but on that.
I mean,
scene.
bring
it
the
would
one.
probably depend.
cell phone.
I don't know because like I think you'd
I'll
probably
get
have
a better mic for the camera. and
Yeah,
then-
you'd probably have
Bring
to.
it.
You probably have to talk to somebody, but I imagine something you could do.
I
but-
think it'd be cool though. I think that's an opportunity where we could be like involved. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll start training. What do you think? I'd get some chops going.
if I want to see him take at least 3 chops.
Right.
I do.
in a row.
I'll watch that.
I used to amateur wrestle, so
Well, there you go.
I think I could take some chops.
But it's just
Sorry.
stop messing with me. You're gonna tip it over. You already ruined your mic. Don't leave my mic alone.
I haven't ruined anything. The editing is spectacular on the
If
Rambling
you
Dudes
remember from
podcast.
a previous episode where he was holding it like this the whole rest of the podcast
Yep.
because it fell off the arm.
If you're a Patreon user, you'll be able to see the live footage there. Rambling Dudes /Patreon. Right?
Backslash. Get it.
That's not it yet.
But going back to like Swerve being kind of, I will admit I was a little disappointed after he won the title in his first Dynamite. They didn't really have him do anything, and he had a pretty back and forth match with, I believe, Kyle Fletcher.
Yeah.
Fantastic match. But you're talking about your world champion, and
Oh,
he's
I
having
just thought that
and he's
match I
and he's having a back and forth match. I like that you don't want to bury Kyle Fletcher, especially since he's friends with Will Ospreay and he's done great things. That's not saying that he's only done great things because he's friends with Will. Shout out to Will Ospreay, whose birthday is tomorrow, same as mine. Thank you.
He's a big watcher of
tomorrow
our
it
show.
is May 6th. I don't know when this goes. It might actually be past
We're
my
so
birthday,
cool with Will Ospreay, we call him Bill.
No, he calls him Bill because he wants to get his head chopped off.
Bill Ospreay.
Oh.
Check him out. He's a local wrestler here.
Ryan's gonna come on the podcast.
Is he coming on the podcast?
No.
Bill Ospreay?
Oh my gosh. Shut up.
We'll just
But,
clip
like-
this here and then we'll tag him. And
Tag Bill. His name is Bill, right?
No.
It's William.
It's Will.
William Ospreay.
Oh my
Bill.
gosh.
Right?
But like
That's what people call Williams. Bill Shakespeare, you ever hear of him?
he's just talking, words are flapping, and I can't hear anything.
Yeah. Elbow.
But I mean, like, you have Swerve now. I really am enjoying this kind of like he's having to kind of recompense for his sins that he got on the way up to the belt. I mean, he did a lot of things. I mean, the fact that Christian Cage called him out for all the crap that he did when he attacked him. I'm granted, Christian Cage is a bigger heel and a more vile heel in a lot of ways. But I mean, it's just like, it's interesting to see you finally made it to the top of the mountain. The crowd has kind of forgiven you, but a lot of people you stepped on to get there haven't yet.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be a cool thing. And I hope that they do right by him. I feel like the challenge for Swerve now is to not be the kind of champion that's holding it until Will gets the shot, because Will Ospreay is kind of the champion of the fans right now. He's next in line in a lot of ways. Do I want him to take it off Swerve? Not right now. I mean, maybe in a couple of months, maybe in next year or whatever. I don't know. I want whatever happens with Sir Strickland's run. I want it to be great. I want it to be awesome. I want it to be everything it should be. Heck, I want maybe end it where he beats Hangman definitively, finally, and then the next match he loses because he's done everything he needed to do in that first run or whatever. I don't really care what it is, but I'm very excited for him to be champion. I'm very excited for him to carry it for a while, and I'm really looking forward to what he does, because this is a guy who has put in the work, like you were saying, how he went from NXT. WWE let him go. I mean, he was Lucha Underground before that, and then to see him come over and just become this behemoth that can't be denied.
Yeah, he's great.
So it'll be fantastic, I think. So
I also really enjoyed the O'Reilly and Roderick Strong match.
Oh yeah, for sure. The moment
he looked like he came out of the woods. I was like, what's going on?
Right. The fact that they were even announced, I was like, that's going to be ridiculously good anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle O'Reilly.
That chemistry is insane.
Yeah, O'Reilly has such a great like snug style while still being clean, and then you got Roddy who same way, a little bit more finesse in there, but then to watch those two just go at it, it was fantastic.
Does he own the auto parts store?
No, he does not. He's not an heir to the O'Reilly auto parts store. So,
or maybe he is, and we don't know about
I remember when JR did that though. He's like, oh, O'Reilly, and I'm just like, he did not just do that.
Did he really do it?
Oh, he did it. Yeah, it was on a show. Like O'Reilly did something. I don't remember what show it was, but O'Reilly did something, and JR did the O'Reilly thing, and I'm just like, oh my god,
not a sponsor.
Yeah, but it's really interesting to see now that he's up there. I like what they're doing with a lot of the belts. I'm curious what they're going to do, because I feel like with the current going on with like the Bucks kind of running roughshod over AEW right now, because they attacked Tony Khan, they attacked Kenny Omega.
Oh, Tony Khan.
Is that where Tony Khan had like the neck break?
Yeah,
he's doing an Andy Kaufman bit.
Okay. Selling it on.
Did you hear what he compared WWE to?
Yeah,
not the best taste.
No, here the problem. Two things with that. One, it was a stupid take for one, because it disparages.
Didn't even make sense to what he compared to.
Like it did not make any sense.
It was like, this is a candy bar. This is a Harvey Weinstein.
Right? Yeah. It's just like
AEW's like Twix, and they're like Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, it's like it didn't make any sense. And then the fact that he doubled down on it later was like, well, it got ratings, because people were like, what stupid crap did you say? Like it wasn't a good thing. It reminded me of old WCW, where they would just say stupid crap like shock jock crap to get you to tune in. It's like that only lasts so long. Yeah, people were tired of watching the fireworks show, man. You need to make it a long sustaining burn in order to enjoy it. And it's just like with the fact that he went out and was like, this and this, and you disparaged the people in the company who had nothing to do with that, who would never have condoned it had they known, and we're under the freaking view of basically a dictator and Vince McMahon. It's like, what's wrong with you, dude? Like, you have all the money from your dad. You're doing well.
He just has such a hard time separating AEW and WWE. He can't do it.
He's too much of a fan.
He can't do it.
I have nothing but respect for what he's done. I have nothing but respect for what he has continued to do. But this is a guy who has doubled down on so much stupid crap. Like when Big Swole got let go and Big Swole complained, like saying, she said her piece about how she felt she wasn't getting opportunity because not only was she a woman, but a woman of color. And Tony Khan basically pulled the whole like, well, I have a friend who's a person of color. It's like,
of course.
It's like, good for you. That doesn't mean anything.
You can't tell people how they feel.
Yeah, right? Exactly. And like he got so defensive about it. It's like, dude, all he had to say was, I am sorry that Big Swole felt that way. I felt I guess I must have misunderstood how our relationship. I thought she felt treated differently or whatever. He could have spun it any different way he
or
wanted.
like we're committed to this.
We're
like,
committed to a change. But instead he doubled down on it, and then he said, "Well, we let her go because she sucks." It's
Oh my
like
God.
it's like yeah, good job, dude.
He's like one of those people. Like if you push him the wrong way, he's just gonna be like,
yeah. He never had to grow up in that essence. It's like, dude, you can let people talk as much crap as you want about him, and it doesn't matter.
When you look at all the AEW backlash,
yep.
No sponsored WWE, but the AEW backlash is from Tony Khan, man.
Yep.
He's causing his own problems.
And
obviously booking decisions too that he's making and under the trigger for because he's like, and he's also like, do whatever you want.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great. And everyone's like, I love the freedom. And then there's like big stars that are like,
I'm not gonna.
I don't want to go through glass.
I'm not gonna do that. Well. The thing
was
is,
that was
that was Perry. But I mean, like the thing
who came back at Dynasty,
right? Yeah, he's back and he's doing this whole thing. I mean, he was the guy who took the first shot at Tony Khan. My whole thing is like this will probably build to something cool. I really struggle with watching the Bucks as heels, not because they're not good at it.
They're doing the authority type,
but it's something that it just doesn't interest me, and I don't buy Nick and Matt Jackson as anything.
I thought it was really lame. Like no offense, but like when they came out with their vests and their because like they used to be like the cool like.
But at the same time, though, think about it. You think it's lame, but what does it do? It gets them heat. Every time Nick Jackson changes his facial hair, people get heat on him. If
that's getting heat,
it's a brilliant strategy. It sucks because it's just not something I'm into.
I don't think it's believable.
I think that they come off.
They need an intimidator. They need like a big dude.
They come off very much as
get Omos over there.
Well, they have Okada now, and they're the elite with Okada.
Isn't Okada like a short guy though?
No, Okada's a lot taller than them.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's a bigger dude. He's a taller guy. I mean, he's not huge, but I mean, he's tall.
Saying you need a monster. Get that basketball guy.
Satnam Singh.
Yeah, put Satnam Singh.
Get the 8-foot dude in there.
Put him in the headband. Get him in the slacks with the super kick.
Oh, jeez.
They can be the super kick bros again. But also, one of the point when they become the old Bucks.
Right.
You're not young forever.
But it's just one of those things.
Easy
like
joke.
It's like I understand.
I'll see myself out.
I actually am enjoying kind of where they're going with it. I feel it's a little bit kind of a refresher on the authoritarian regime, you know, vibe. I'm just kind of curious. Only because, like someone pointed out, Tony Khan kind of went back on his word where he never wanted to be an on-screen authority figure.
Yeah.
And then he gets pile drived in the ring. Now, granted, no one really criticized Vince once it produced money with him and Austin.
Man, I will say something about Vince. He got freaking ripped.
Oh yeah, he's completely jacked.
And those training scenes up to him fighting Stone Cold,
where he was chasing the chicken and down in the eggs.
It was genius.
Oh yeah. But I mean, that's the thing is like the thing with McMahon over a lot of authority figures in this business, in the business itself. McMahon, Vince at least,
grew up,
always got his comeuppance. It took a while sometimes. But Vince always got beat up. Vince, there was never one time where he made Stone Cold look like a chump. Stone Cold made him look like a chump every single time. But that was always the problem with like the Stephanie McMahon authority figure. She never got her comeuppance. She would slap wrestlers. She would do all these things. Never once got taken down for it. She ran Brie Bella through the mud at Mania and like never got, it's like, what was the point of that? And it's not a knock at Stephanie as a performer. It's just, it didn't feel right. Like even Triple H, like when Ronda Rousey did her like hip toss to him, he sold it like he got thrown into a volcano. I mean, it just like, it was just one of those things. Like you can't run it where you're untouchable because it's just not interesting anymore.
Yeah. I agree, and I think hopefully it'll work out.
Yeah, I want it to be.
I just like good wrestling, and I've been behind on AEW. I gave it a chance at Dynasty. I liked what I saw. I haven't kept up on the local stuff. Usually, I look for like clickbait,
right?
But nothing crazy.
Yeah,
outside the Tony Khan thing.
Yeah.
But also I do want to talk about. Have you seen the promos for the Wyatt 6?
I've heard. I haven't had a chance to really like take a watch yet. Yeah. I know that I have followed that channel that they were on and everything. I'm excited for what they're gonna do with it, especially since it's supposed to be Bo Dallas, Nikki Cross, Dexter Loomis. I can't remember
Joe Gacy.
Is it Joe Gacy? Okay, yeah.
And then Rowan.
Right, yeah, and
Bo Dallas, right? How many?
Well, Bo. I said Bo first. Yeah,
Bo first. Yeah, Bo.
Bo, Nikki. Gacy, Dexter Loomis, Nikki Cross, and Rowan. Yeah, so that's
Rowan.
6. Yeah. So I mean, promo better than math. Pipe bomb better than math.
6.
But it's just one of those things. Like I'm excited. I'm excited, but I'm worried because it's like, is this gonna be one of those where it was so hyped up that it'll never match up to what it was? But then again,
Did we say Alexa Bliss?
No.
It says 7.
Wait, is it Alexa Bliss or is it Nikki Cross? Because I thought it was Nikki Cross.
Alexa Bliss is back.
Yeah.
No, I know that, but I mean, like, is she supposed to be a part of that?
How is she not part of that? I would think Alexa.
Well, I mean, she might not want to do it out of respect.
Can we do the count again? Yeah.
Bo Dallas, Gacy,
2.
Rowan, Dexter Loomis,
4.
Nikki Cross,
and so then
Alexa Bliss.
no, because we got to 6 before that. Who are we missing?
Rewind it.
Bo Dallas, Dexter Loomis,
2.
Stand up in
Rowan.
front of the camera, show
3.
me your shirt.
Rowan. Hey, I said pipe
4.
bomb's better than math. Thank you very much.
1. Start over.
Bo Dallas, Eric Rowan, Nikki Cross,
3.
Dexter Loomis,
4.
Gacy.
5.
So yeah, I guess Alexa Bliss would be 6 then.
There you go.
Is that who it is? I just
We'll
wonder more.
find out. on
Did you
the
say
next
Bo Dallas?
episode.
I said him first. Golly.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be great though.
I think it's gonna be fantastic. We don't know who's in it. Hang on.
Now he's gonna look it
I'm
up.
gonna cheat again. I'm gonna look up.
Bo, Alexa, Nikki, Dexter, Joe, and Rowan. 6.
Was it again? Count it over again.
One more time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Wyatt says.
What it says. All right, here.
They're gonna be in faction with the LWO.
All right, hang on here.
Wyatt says.
Yeah,
The
it's, all
LWO.
right. So according to this, it'll be Bo Dallas, Loomis, Gacy, Eric Rowan, and Nikki Cross. So that's 6 right there.
How come you got 5 fingers up?
Oh wait, that's not 6. I can't count. Shut up. So what? You think Alexa Bliss is gonna be on that too? Then?
Yeah, why wouldn't she be?
Well,
she's a big part
out of
it.
respect for Bray, I mean,
Yeah,
she might not. I mean,
Well, she was a huge part of it.
I know, but I mean,
I think she was part of the plan too.
I don't know. That's only 5, so I guess we'll find out. But
Did you say Bo Dallas?
shut up.
We might know more today.
I believe.
Yeah, why don't
Whenever
you
they
look
put it
on Raw results and see?
Oh yeah, I haven't been watching.
There you go.
But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, I'm excited for that. I'm worried that they might. It's hard because it's like, I'm not saying that Bo Dallas is not creative because he clearly is. It's just, I mean, this is a guy who committed to the Bo Leave gimmick
And he
like
crushed it.
100%. So I'm just worried.
Tell me him and Curtis Axel wasn't one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Curtis Axel was never eliminated from the Royal Rumble.
That's true.
So he's still undefeated. But it's definitely one of those things. Like, I want it to be cool.
That's what they need to run. They bring Curtis Axel
Have
back
Kurt back for a Rumble
to get
and-
thrown out.
Yeah, just get thrown right in and be like, whoop.
Or he comes in at the last one and he goes, "I never lost."
And
the
then,
guy.
you did know.
Everyone would be like, "Ah!" And then Nicholas shows up.
Isn't he like 6 feet tall now? I thought
I don't know. I mean, he's gonna-
pretty tall now.
Freaking
Freaking Kevin Owens' kid is huge now too. He's taller than Kevin Owens. Dude's a truck. Just
Yeah.
like if he decides he wants to wrestle, he's gonna.
I'm sure he will. Yeah.
beat him. Well, his Kevin even said he's like, I don't want to push towards anything. So if he wants to wrestle, I'll support it. He goes, if he doesn't want to wrestle, I'll support that. You know, it's just a lot of wrestlers. I feel like a lot of wrestlers are like that. Like it's always. I think a lot of them. It's like it's cool, but at the same time, it's kind of hard because it's like they know
how hard it is. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's like anytime you want your kid to have it better than you did, but you know,
Yeah, like hopefully your kid can count past 6.
and not keep recounting Bo Dallas. Jeez. I feel like that's how you got to 6 is you went Bo Dallas and then you ended on Bo Dallas. Like
I wasn't counting. I was just asking if you said you're the one holding up the fingers.
But
Did you say Bo Dallas?
I strangle you with a Bo Dallas t-shirt.
You guys got more?
Was that?
You want to call it?
Call it? Anything else?
No, not that I can think of. I mean, definitely want to do some local shows this year.
Yeah.
Do a couple of
You
different
want to
ones.
call anybody out in the local promotion? You want to challenge anybody to a match? See if they're watching?
I'd much rather keep my head on my shoulders. My wife would like it there. You can call them out. Go
I'm
ahead.
coming for you, old Marge.
Go
Zabadoo, baby. You like the horn?
Oh gosh.
What? We're the unicorns. Me and Dave are the unicorns.
Uh-huh.
Shout out to the unicorns. All right. That has been episode 6.
We think 6.
We can't count.
Somewhere.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can't
Think
count
about it.
anyway. That should be the
Post-Raw,
title of this channel of this
Alexa
thing.
Bliss,
We can't count.
Bo Dallas.
Did
Anyway,
you say Bo Dallas?
Yes. Did you say Bo Dallas? Ask yourself if you're ever in trouble.
Did you
If
say
you're
Bo
in
Dallas?
any situation, did you say Bo Dallas? We are the Rambling Dudes. Check us out on Patreon where we don't see $1 of it, but the Nerd Archive podcast people do. We love you.
Help me, I'm poor.
We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Zabadoo.
C-shirt. Good job, guys.